So what do we see him doing? What's his knee-jerk reaction? He defends himself. Of course he does. He does what any of us would do. And he lists off all the evils and the offenses that he hasn't done. He's protesting that he's never indulged. He's never offended. And he's right. It's true. He's never done any of that bad stuff. But it doesn't quite seem to matter. Because now his story has taken on a life of its own. People have grabbed hold of it. They're making up their own minds. They have their own opinions. Truth and lies are indistinguishable. And notice that now in his talk back rant to God, what Job is actually saying is this. He's saying, God, I question whether you know how to run the world. Do you actually know what you're doing? He's questioning if God knows what he's doing or if he actually has any power at all. So if we hit time out right there, there's some pretty big pieces for you and I to consider. Maybe this will hit you. Why is it that when people say things about you and me that are untrue, that we feel the need to defend ourselves to the death? Maybe the root question there is this: why do we care so much about how other people perceive us? Now take that same idea and just flip it over real quick and look at it from the opposite angle. Why is it that it's so easy to kick people when they're down? Why is it so easy to shoot our own wounded? Why does it sort of feel kind of good? You know, maybe a little bit rewarding, maybe really easy. Maybe we get a few good laughs out of it when we mock others and we think about their situation and we say, ha, look at what's happened to them. Why is it so easy to do it to someone else while we would hate it if someone would do it to us? Or maybe the question out of this section of the text this morning for you is this: why is it when everything in your life is just going peachy, it's just great and amazing, that God is obviously in control? But what about when your life is going sideways or it's tanking? Why is it that in those moments we say, well, obviously God doesn't know what he's doing? Why do we flip-flop like that? So maybe the challenge that is before Job this morning is the same truth that faces us. And it's this: that as God's creation, as his subjects, we are called to submit to God, even if we don't have or don't know the rationale for what he does. Why? Because this universe and this world is his. All of this is up to him and not us. All of it is under his control and not ours. So this section of the story presents us with some bigger things to think about as well. Maybe you need to think about this. Are you okay? Do you recognize that this whole world is not up to you? None of it is really in your control. So will you and I go through life questioning the way God exercises his authority? Or will we submit and will we trust him even if we are short on the answers that we want? Or maybe this is the piece you have to wrestle with. Are you trying to tame God? Are we trying to tame the one who tamed the oceans? Or are we allowing ourselves to be tamed by him? Or maybe try this one on for size. Are you okay with a God that isn't always a plush teddy bear? A God that at times comes at you hard and in a harsh manner, sometimes being sarcastic, sometimes showing up like a storm? Is it possible that God shows up in this way, maybe, just maybe, because sometimes it's the only way that he can get your attention. First, notice this. Notice when Job is restored. What's the timeline there? Job is restored after he prays for his friends who really haven't been his good friends all along. There is something to that time sequence. The way to Yahweh's happy ending has got to be a win-win for everyone. A change of heart, where enemies are loved and interceded for, where grace is unconditional, and where broken relationships are restored. Second thing to maybe notice here is this. We read this passage and Job gets this happy ending, but this happy ending sort of has an asterisk beside it for me. You know, kind of like when Barry Bonds won the home run record. Remember Barry Bonds? Like, he won the home run record, but everyone knows he was juicing, right? So he won it, but did he really win it? So there's an asterisk beside his name in the MLB record books. I think there's an asterisk beside this happy ending as well. Sure, the story goes on to say that his fortunes are all restored, they increase. Later it says he goes on to live another 140 years. He gets new kids, he gets grandkids, he's looked after, he dies an old man full of life with new fortunes and a new family. But when I read the ending to that story, the question I have is, well, what about the other family? Well, what about those other kids, your first kids, the ones that can't or weren't replaced? To me, there's an asterisk behind this happy ending because it's not quite complete. It's a partial happy ending for now, with the full happy ending coming later, where families will be reunited, where the sick will be made well, and where everything will be made right. And the word that the church has always used for this reality is resurrection. So for those of us here this morning who identify as followers of Jesus, this is our hope. This is the now and the not yet of God's kingdom. That in the middle of whatever mess you find yourself, look for those glimmers of the happy ending, of what it's going to look like. And then sit tight, hold on, in expectation for the full happy ending that is on its way. So to you this morning, my brothers and sisters, I urge you to hang on to this assurance. Look for the glimmers of the happy ending in the middle of your mess, but live with hope and security and expectation that Jesus is coming back and he will one day make everything right.